your idea of a justified means or a justified end, whichever one, is going to vary from person to person.
Oh, totally. Well, Hitler thought he was making the world a better place.
It's hyper focused on this one thing. You're not looking at what it's doing to other people. That's when you end up with these, quote unquote, evil people, right? Because they're just focused on what they think is going to be good, and they're not really looking at the havoc they're wreaking.
Becoming obsessed with the cause at all costs, I think, is one of the things that yields bad results.
The end cannot justify the means for the simple and obvious reason that the means employed determine the nature of the ends produced. And that was Aldous Huxley.
There we go. Oh shit, it's on my keyboard. That's gonna.
Anyway, welcome to another minute. Welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Casey Rochford. I'm not drunk yet, I swear. And we would love it if you'd like and share and subscribe to the channel. And check out our website, ksmvidcast.com, where you can get cool swag like this.
Yeah, well, that's supposed to be my part, but are you sure you're not a little bit drunk? I'm kind of working on it right now, and
well, I'm wearing the swag, so I thought,
yeah, okay, yeah, we can mix it up a little bit. No reason to stick to a script, necessarily. But for those that don't know, I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and so Casey and I both, and together, individually together, we write our own music, and collections of such music is available out there on the interwebs. iTunes, Spotify, and stuff like that. You can purchase whole albums and listen to everything. Well, not everything, because we haven't uploaded everything, but we will. I promise. Except for that one song. So anyway, stick around to the end of the show, and you're going to hear something new, because that's what we do. That's our shtick. We throw a new song in every episode. Who does that? I mean, come on. Nobody does that. So, yeah, if you like that.
By season 7, we'll be saying, well, we don't even do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, but, for now we do it. And if that appeals to you, subscribe for sure. And go to Patreon and patreon.com/ksmvidcast. Are we still doing that? And if you want to help support us, or you could help support by buying music, that'd be great, or some merch. So I guess with the housekeeping out of the way, Casey, what are we going to talk about tonight on this fine evening?
I thought it would be good to go into kind of a controversial philosophy.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah,
something we never we totally never do that ever.
just kind of as a general topic of conversation. There's just a lot of directions that you can go with this, but Machiavelli once said the ends justify the means. And there have been a lot of people that have gone with that and against that. And I thought it would be kind of a good topic to explore. Like, does the end justify the means?
Ooh, man. I mean, I guess it depends on the ends and the means. Like, what is it? If you're trying to protect planet Earth from an alien invasion, That's a big deal, or certain destruction from an asteroid or something. Like, yeah, you got to do what you got to do to do that. But if something less than that, like, well, things start getting a little bit more gray at that point. um
Yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of, by definition, you can really only categorize that in retrospect, right? Like, you don't know if the end is justified by the means because you haven't reached the end yet. Like, do you ever really reach the end? But I mean, like, let's say like World War II ended and we look back and said, well, there's a lot of things that we wish didn't happen, but there are also a lot of things like medical advancements that came from horrible experiments that were done.
Yeah.
So were those means justified by the millions of lives were saved from the research?
Oh man, I mean, that
gray areas like that.
Well, it actually kind of goes to like other philosophical areas, like the trolley problem, right? Like, which life is more valuable, like one life or five or something. Well, and in the case of World War II, right? On the European side, there's, Germany is going all nuts and trying to take over everything and turn everybody into Nazis and everything. So stopping that might, I think like some wacky things that were done there, questionable ethical things, ethically questionable things, let's say, I'll phrase it properly, might have been justified for that reason. The Pacific side, same kind of thing, like Japan being imperialistic, and but was dropping nukes on a bunch of innocent civilians worth it? I don't know. Yeah. Probably not.
So I was looking up a few different quotes on this from a few people from history. Albert Camus said, "Does the end justify the means? That is possible. But what will justify the end? To that question, which historical thought leaves pending, rebellion replies, the means." He's basically saying, if you've got good intentions, the end will, probably be good, But well, I don't know if that's true either.
No, because you know what they say about the best of intentions, right? That doesn't always mean that just because you intend to do good doesn't mean that the things you're doing are going to be good or result in positive outcomes, I guess.
Yeah.
And how far does it go? If it means, you. So I'd say like it's perfectly rational and reasonable if it's something that you personally take on as a quest, right? Like you want to solve a problem, like Mary Curie, right? You want to know more about radiation and stuff. You put your own self at risk to discover that and know things. And we owe a lot to that scientific endeavor right there. And it took her life, and her husband's as well, actually. And I think that's fine if you want to put your own life on the line or waste your entire life trying to solve some crazy mathematical quandary that nobody's ever been able to figure out. So be it. But when it comes to killing a bunch of people who don't care about those things, well, that's where I think it starts getting a little more questionable, I guess. If it's like, oh, we want the world to be a utopia, so it requires killing a bunch of these people or those people or destroying this thing or like damaging the environment in some way, or whatever, like that. Yeah, I mean, well, that becomes then like your own quest for the ends becomes a lot more subjective, I think. Like I
think it's all subjective. You'll find like-minded people, but your your idea of a justified means or a justified end, whichever one, is going to vary from person to person.
Oh, totally. Well, Hitler thought he was making the world a better place.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so his intent was, we're going to make this a better place. I mean, nowadays,
honestly, nobody does anything because they think it's going to turn out shitty, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that like really bugs me about TV shows and movies. There's always like a mustache twirling evil guys like, I'm going to spend my entire life's fortune to like destroy everything just for reasons, right? Like that was the thing the problem I had with like shows like Captain Planet, right?
Yep.
Like
sludge in
how much money did they spend to do that shit? Like, and for what? Like, why? What? This is the thing. It's like, it's kind of like, imagine if you're in a spacecraft, right? You're in there with some other people and you're a mustache twirling evildoer, and you just start taking a screwdriver and poking holes in the ship. Like, oh yeah. I'm going to let the vacuum of space in here, let all the air out. Like, what? Who does that?
I think people's concept of evil doesn't come from a spiritual place or a psychological space, even so much as just a matter of focus, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you've got tunnel vision and you're just hyper focused on this one thing, you're not looking at what it's doing to other people. That's when you end up with these, quote unquote evil people, right? Because they're just focused on what they think is going to be good, and they're not really looking at the havoc they're wreaking.
Ooh, excuse me. That's a really good point. That tunnel vision, like so becoming obsessed with the cause at all costs, I think is one of the things that yields bad results, right? Like it doesn't even become. It starts off maybe like you recognize some kind of wrong that you want to right, I guess, and then it starts accelerating and growing like a fire, and pretty soon it's out of control. Well, it's like the French Revolution, like Robespierre, right, with all the beheadings and stuff like that, and pretty soon like everybody was losing their head, including him. Like how far do you want it to go? And is maybe in a certain context, some of those actions, some extreme actions, make sense in a limited way, but then pretty soon I think the actors in a revolution lose sight of the original vision and become more focused on the actions, the things that are happening, like cutting people's heads off, right? And pretty soon, at first it starts with like nobility, right? The people that really did you wrong are the ones that lose their heads, and then it becomes bad guys in some way, and then it becomes people you just politically disagree with, then it becomes people you had an argument with in a coffee shop, and then it's just like anybody. And I think that's a very likely outcome of those kinds of things. So the idea that ends justify the means in that sense, like, well, I mean, I guess it depends on what your goal is.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny that Camus had, I mean, he phrased it like a philosopher would, right? So, he's kind of saying, well, people who rebel against it would say that, good intentions bring a good end. But the one I found astounding was this quote: "The end cannot justify the means for the simple and obvious reason that the means employed determine the nature of the ends produced." And that was Aldous Huxley.
Ooh, that
Mr. Dystopia.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
That's kind of a positive. Yeah, it's kind of a positive outlook coming from a guy who wrote a bunch of really great dystopia novels.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one, man. Wow, I had a really poignant thought, but it's escaping me right now. Well, it'll probably come back after I have a little bit more beer, I guess. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, now I know what I was thinking about. So the problem with a statement like the ends justify the means in the here and now is a matter of understanding. If you know everything about everything, let's say you're omniscient, right? And you know exactly the internal workings, the mechanics of the entire universe, everything. So cause and effect, exactly, you move this thing here or do this thing will result, and you could guarantee it. Then you could probably live within that. Then you could probably claim to something like the ends justify the means, because you know exactly what you do what outcome is going to come from what you do. But most people don't. Most people are fucking idiots. And see the world in a very simplistic way and think, oh, if we just do this one thing, if we just achieve this particular state, everything will be the way that we want it, right? The ends, it'll end up the way exactly how we want it. And of course, you can look through history and realize that's entirely wrong, and most people make very grave mistakes. That's the thing. It's like, if you don't know anything about cars, right? I use the car analogy often, just for things like this. But like, if you don't know anything about cars and a car isn't starting, right? And so you just think, okay, well, I'm going to like wave a dead chicken over it, right? Just perform some magic and some voodoo and stuff, because that's all I know. You just bang a thing with a hammer, you pull on some wires, you fidget with knobs, and it starts, right? That's your totality of your understanding of cars. Well, you could do that all day long and it will never start the car if there's a dead battery, right? Like, person that knows something is going to be like, hey, the reason that car is not starting is because the battery is dead. And it's a very simple check. And the same applies to the rest of the universe, like all existence, human interaction, and things like that. If there's a wrong, there's some kind of fault, and people want to correct it, there may be a very easy solution to correcting that particular fault. But when people have a very limited understanding of why that fault exists, or how, or what to do to correct it, then the problem I see with philosophies like ends justify the means is that there's no end to it. Like, we have to make the car start, so we just need a bigger hammer, right? We need like 100 people jumping on the car. Well, let's flip the car over. Maybe I don't know, we need to put some holy water on it or something, that'll start it. And that's the thing. Like, when no one knows the causes of a problem, their solutions can be completely ridiculous. So maybe it even goes like, if you want the car to start, it starts off with like hammers and people jumping on cars and pulling on wires. Then it ends with like people sacrificing people, because they're like, well, at one time that one person killed another person and the car started after that. So that's what we need to do. We need human sacrifice to get the car to start. And I mean, it sounds silly, but that's how everybody behaves with everything else, as if they totally know exactly how it all works. And we just need to do this one thing. And it doesn't matter if it requires like millions of people being murdered. It's worth it. And yet the outcomes never arrive. In my experience, I guess. I don't know.
What kind of auto shops have you been going to? Jeez.
Well, they had pentagrams over the doors, and I really didn't have I didn't think much of it at the time, but now, that was probably a bad move.
Totally need to open a garage called Satan Hot Rod Shop or something.
Oh, man.
everybody's like studded leather and
there's like people like in torture devices just randomly inside the waiting room, like being
paint, like black metal playing. Like,
yeah, people being whipped like like what's going on with that guy? Oh well, we're trying to get this this guy's transmission to work correctly. Oh man. Oh wait. Okay. Well, we have a little bit of internet issues here. So if
started talking about Satan, and now the internet doesn't work.
Oh geez. Yeah. Well, if there's any glitches, that's why. It's
yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
You know, to say that the ends don't justify the means, I think is equally as, you know, fallacious, I guess. Just because it's not always black and white, you know. I mean, there are plenty of examples of things that actually turned out really well from horrible circumstances. I mean, I guess it just depends on the framing of your perspective, right? Like,
that's true.
You know, the Revolutionary War gave us our independence, and you know, we built our country off of that. But
well, the Civil War too, you know, like
and, even World War II, you know, which, you know, had ultimately had a good outcome as we see it. It was still really horrible. So, you know, for whatever it cost, you know, I mean, nobody is omniscient. You know, we can't really say what would have happened had that never happened, right? Like, where would we be as a society? Will we be better or worse?
Well, and like you had said earlier, you know, that you can only see these kinds of things in hindsight. So to say right now that whatever is going on, whatever it might be, some kind of action of some sort or direction, to say that whatever the cost, it's worth it because we're going to get where we want to go. Well, you don't know that. We won't know that until we've gotten where we're going and see if we actually ended up at our destination or not. Right. Like, and then you have to weigh like what did we gain versus what did we lose? I mean, it's tough, especially when it comes to death or killing of people in general, like wars and stuff like that. Honestly, my view about war is like most of them are bullshit. But you know, in the moment, it seems like it's totally justified to most people, including the people who are fighting those wars and the politicians sitting at a cushy desk directing people to fight those wars. It seems perfectly reasonable. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I honestly, I would say the term "the ends justify the means" is invalid because of that particular issue, that you can only know after you've already gotten there if the ends truly did justify the means.
Well, another way I guess you could look at that phrase is it's pretty similar to it, you know, it's better to ask forgiveness than to ask permission, because that's more of a hindsight thing, right? It's more like, oops, I guess that was kind of bad, but you know, you would have said no anyway, and maybe it could have turned out good. You know, like,
yeah, but and again, it does depend on exactly what is going on. That really dictates, in my opinion, very heavily the validity of any of those statements. If it's something that you're, like I said, you know, if you spend 40 years trying to solve an unsolvable mathematical problem, well, that's on you. You know, you decide it yourself, you burn that time yourself, and that's it. And maybe you succeed, maybe you don't. you could say all the while that the ends justify the means. That's fine. But if you're sweeping across the planet, like killing thousands and thousands of people, saying, oh, the ends justify the means because, we got to do whatever it is we got to do. Well, those people didn't have a choice in that. They're not willing participants. You didn't ask permission of them. And so I think that's kind of a litmus test of whether that applies. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do I know? I'm a dumbass.
I mean, your choices, your impact on others, like, I don't know that it necessarily is predicated on their willingness to participate, right? Because your actions impact people whether or not you intend them to sometimes. And I mean, that could go both ways. The guy that spent 40 years working on math and gets nowhere, well, had he not been doing that, maybe he could have saved a little girl from getting hit by a bus or something. But nope, he was working on his math problem, and you don't know that.
Well, okay, because... now that does go in an entirely different direction about like inaction and not being present to like the what if, like,
well, it's just the flip side of like, having your actions like directly impact somebody. Your inactions could indirectly impact somebody as well.
That's true, but then again, like, you'd have to be omniscient to really know if those inactions, like if you were not present at this exact moment at this exact place, who knows, right? Like, things
who's to say those people weren't going to die that moment anyway? Like, my dad always tells this story about his dad fought in World War II, and one of my dad's friends was over for dinner or something and was asking, like, I'm thinking of going into the military. I was thinking of the Marines or something, and my grandpa was like, no, you'll just get killed instantly. You shouldn't sign up for the Marines. They're just right out on the front lines. You'll be dead instantly. So he didn't sign up for anything, dies in a car wreck like the next week,
Oh geez.
So
yeah, we're okay. That's the thing. We're all gonna die. It's just a question of when and how.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's the argument to be made that it's like, if your decision, like, if your decision indirectly, leads to somebody dying, maybe don't beat yourself up too much.
Well, yeah, because you don't know. How could you possibly know?
Yeah.
You're not culpable if you're not omniscient. If you don't know the implications of every single movement and decision and position of every particle in your body, and what's has happened and what will happen, like, yeah, like, shit happens. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, like I was telling you before the show, my buddy that had just died, I was like, okay, I'm going to call him on Sunday. And I woke up Sunday to the email that he had died. And it's like, well, that's a bad coincidence, right? Yeah. It's not like my procrastination brought
because
his untimely demise or anything.
Yeah, you had intended it, like, and like you'd said, you wanted to give his family time to hang out and talk and do all that stuff and kind of wait for that to subside a bit so you could talk to him, and you had an intent in a timely fashion to talk, and, well, it just so happens the dice didn't roll in your favor.
Yeah.
I guess things that involve your own self are fine, even if you want to put your own life at risk, be it whatever hobbies or interests, science, mathematics, or daredevilish things like flying prototype aircraft or something like that. That's fine, because that only impacts you. You're the one that decides to do it or not do it, and the only thing you have to lose is your own life or health, I guess. but like you said, other people, when it involves other people, yeah, that does change things. And I completely agree on that, like, if you involve other people and their lives are on the line because of your own personal views about what's important in life, well, you better hope that they agree, I guess. And they should agree and be willing participants,
Isn't that the shitty part about the military, though, is like, it doesn't matter if you agree or not, you just sign up to do what somebody else wants to do.
Yeah,
and
that's totally bullshit. I agree completely on that. That it's like you could sign up. They're like, like you get the patriotic stuff, like, oh, I'm going to defend the country and blah blah blah, and then you're off in some place you've never been, shooting at people who you've never met before, who haven't met you, and just because of some politician. That, like, well, that, yeah. And I mean, and the thing is, like, these people are basically kids that are fighting these wars and killing and dying on, they say our behalf, but it would be the politicians' behalf, I guess.
Right.
Because I didn't decide to go into Iraq or Afghanistan. Like, I didn't choose that shit.
Nor
Put
has
me on the hook for it.
Or has our freedom been on the line in over 70 years?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, 9/11 was kind of a wild thing, but okay, here's the problem with 9/11. 100% of the people who did that are dead. So, okay, where's the justice coming from? What, killing like innocent civilians, like bombing with drones, like that doesn't
it's the Hydra effect, right? You cut off one head and 7 more show up. So it's like there's a constant justification for this endless war. And all the funny thing is, because they have the military trained to just do what they're told, they only have to spew the propaganda out to the people to get the rest of the people on board. But imagine if the military was structured in such a way that they could only go to war if they could convince their military constituents to be behind that cause.
If enough
of them weren't behind it, you can't go to war. Like,
yeah, because only the most
autonomy,
only the most heinous and obviously justifiable actions would get any kind of traction. Yeah, I'm 100% behind that. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Also, I think whoever signs off on going to war, people in Congress or presidents or whatever, they got to be in the front lines. I want to see you at the head. Like, pick up a fucking machine gun soldier. You go out there, like, if you're so convinced that this war is so justified, you're willing to send thousands of kids to war to kill other kids, Yeah. I want to see you out there. Put your money where your mouth is. Otherwise, don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah, instead of a minimum age of 35 to be president, you should have like a maximum age of like 55, right? Like, you should be fit enough to go in battle and lead your troops.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great idea. Oh my God. Wow. If only it were that way.
Yeah, like when I say I support the troops, I mean, I want them to have all the rights and autonomy that we're granted.
Yeah.
In their job, like their job shouldn't be to be like a sycophant to their elders and their superiors or whatever, right? Like, they should be able to not be like the Borg, but be more like, a willing participant in defending the country and doing what they feel is just. That's why I thought Ken Watanabe was actually more of a hero, because he refused to go to Iraq because there was bum intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a bullshit war, and he was like, no.
And it's still going on.
Traitor.
Yeah. Well, that's another like completely different topic, as the whole like hyper patriotism and things like that.
Nationalism.
Yeah. Like it. I think a military is important for defense, right? If there's people actually coming across the border or whatever, attacking people in cities and stuff, sure, take up arms and defend yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Defense, yes.
Yeah. And if you have friends, right, it's okay with allies and things. If you have a mutual agreement with different countries and different places, like, hey, if you get attacked, we'll help you out. And if we get attacked, you help us out. Like that's cool. But when it's something that's completely, really unprovoked, or there's very shaky evidence, that's the time you should be very skeptical. And in fact, the amount of proof required in those situations should be very great. But basically, like, you've got Colin Powell holding up like yellow cake uranium, and boom, we're going to war. Like, dude, what? Like, I have a big problem with that, because the thing is, like, oh man,
So yeah, we don't even know if the ends justify the means on that, because there hasn't been an end yet.
It's true. Oh, mission accomplished, right? Remember that?
I remember putting that headline out in news racks in early 2003, I think.
To 03. Yep.
Yeah.
And we're still there. There's still U.S. soldiers there in Afghanistan and Iraq. And stuff is still going on. And like you said, the Hydra too, right?
Yeah.
You got to think, in all situations, you have to turn your perspective to other sides and analyze things from other people's points of view. And in that case, like, imagine if we were Iraq or Afghanistan and a bunch of soldiers from somewhere else came in and just traipsing around, just shooting random people. And of course, fear and rumors go wild, and everybody's like, oh my God, they're like raping and killing people. And you'd be naturally angry. I mean, defense, right? Like, who are these foreign invaders? What are they doing here? I don't care about their stupid yellow cake uranium bullshit. Like, I just don't want them here, right? And there's tanks rolling around and military vehicles and shit being blown up. Like, I don't find it that shocking that there's more and more resistance to that as time goes on. And people who maybe in the beginning were a little bit more moderate and kind of like, they'll probably leave after a while. Eventually they're like, yeah, fuck these people. Shit, I'm going to take up an AK right now and I'm going to go get them. Like, I can see that happening. All you have to do is imagine the same thing happens here. And like, I have to say, I'm actually kind of shocked that things are as chill as they are over there in the Middle East.
This might be a dumb question, but like, when we decide to go to war with Iraq, for instance, do we bring people from the Iraqi embassy here in the United States and get their opinion on things? Like,
no,
throughout the whole thing, like, hey, what's the word on the street over there? How are we coming across?
No, because that would be the scientific, like, that would be the logical scientific way to do things. And you can't propagandize your way out of that. No, it's basically Congress is like, yep, check box, and we're going to fucking war. Well, not we. We're gonna sit in our cushy office, with air conditioning and stuff. It's all you stupid little kids here. You're gonna go put your helmet on, grab your rifle, and go out there and do our bidding. And that's bullshit. Like,
I guess we're on a bit of a tangent, but I also think this is a good opportunity to say, like, why do we put so much defense around the president? Like, it's not a game of chess. You knock him over, the game's not over, right? Like, we could still be at war. Somebody else steps up to take his place. We exalt the president so much. Like,
oh yeah,
it feels creepy. I don't know.
No, you're totally right. Like, it's almost like a kind of a kingly status in some ways,
Yeah.
or like the Pope or something, right? You know, holy. Oh,
Trump was
super holy.
Trump was getting like daily COVID tests when we had like not enough tests to go around, and I'm like, why does he need this? Like, he's not special.
Yeah, well, no, and they're not. That's actually a very important revelation that I think everybody should understand. None of these people are special.
No,
you know, they've just gotten a few check boxes that are like,
yeah, it's not like society crumbles when a president dies.
Well,
We've
no,
seen
and
this happen.
and there's constitutional processes for how you do that, down to a certain level, and we've since expanded that. So, you know, even if like the next 10 people behind the president are dead, it'll still go on. In fact, here's the thing. I'd say even if 1,000 people down the line are dead, the bureaucracy is so fucking entrenched, it'll just keep going. Like, you know, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter at all. Here's the thing. Like, if the president is shot and the vice president and everybody in Congress is like exterminated in some kind of crazy alien invasion or something like that, yeah, you're still going to go to the DMV and there's going to be somebody behind the desk chewing bubble gum, like, can I see your ID? Like, it's going to be the same bullshit. Life is going to go on. And
this is the way.
Yeah, and you're still going to have to pay taxes too. The IRS actually has a plan for like global destruction and still collecting taxes. So that kind of tells you, like, basically it doesn't matter. None of those
what is
things
the
matter.
tier? It's the president, then the vice president, and then Secretary of State, and then the CEO of JP Morgan, and then
isn't it the Speaker of the House, I think, or something? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. And then the CEO. Yeah,
yeah. Well, but you're kind of you're pretty close there. Oh man. Yeah, how is it that somebody can come into congressional office with no money and be like a billionaire when they leave? I thought the wages were.
Who has that happened to? Who did that happen to?
Like everybody. They're all, well, maybe maybe not billionaires, but like way more money than the wages would account for.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about everybody's salary, but like, I know that back in 2016 when the first time Bernie Sanders ran, I remember, like, I was like, I wonder what his actual worth is, and I looked it up, and it's like, oh, he basically like just gets his salary or whatever. He's not getting any like kickbacks or anything, so he's pretty legit. And then,
well, he's kind of rare in that regard.
But that's true. But that's like our control, let's say.
Yeah.
And then the second time around, because he wrote a book after that, and he had all that FaceTime on TV and popularity and stuff, he became like technically a millionaire, but we're talking like single digits, maybe low double digits from the royalties on that book. Like, and everyone was like, what a sellout. He's a millionaire. We can't trust him now. And it's like, well, okay, so not everybody becomes billionaires from the government, but like, does it really happen that often?
Yes. And it's probably a function of like being in the know and being in those kinds of positions where you can like pull strings and get favors and make things happen to your advantage. And I think it troubles me that that's how it works, that's what it's become.
Yeah.
That like it's basically become like a cash grab. Like, isn't it supposed to be representatives? They're all in an ivory tower. Like, every last one of them, save a few. Like, they're so disconnected and out of touch. So does anybody even represent us?
Well, money dictates everything. Money is the ends that justify everybody's means. Like, and that's sad truth, right? Because it's something that we made up.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, It is. It's all a fabrication. It's. Oh wait, let me do that too. Okay, didn't squirt on my keyboard this time. It is all a fabrication. Like, it's just something. It's a medium of exchange, money. That is, like, it doesn't really have any significance, and that's why I love crypto so much, because it's kind of like giving a big middle finger to Fedcoin, as I call it.
It's funny. Like, I don't know if you've done your taxes yet, but they're like, have you sold any virtual currency this year?
Oh,
like,
they are scared. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, even if I did, I'm not telling you. That's the point, right?
You'll never know. I mean, unless you use something in the US that has to report that stuff by law. But if you use like exchanges and you have your own wallet and all this stuff like that, fuck it. I'm not going to tell you anything. But you know, like Janet Yellen, like the new is she, what position has she been appointed to? Treasury, I think, or something like that. Treasury Secretary. I don't know. I don't follow all that stuff too closely, but she said that we should be wary of crypto because it's inefficient, and like there's this kind of campaign to make cryptocurrency seem like, ooh, scary, like, oh, you're gonna lose everything if you put anything into it. It's like
I had Ether for a while.
Ethereum.
Yeah. And it was easy enough to link my bank or whatever and purchase some. But when I wanted to cash out, my credit union wouldn't allow me to. So like I basically, like, I had to jump through a bunch of hoops just to get money. And of course, by that time, like, the value had changed and I lost it a little bit. And it's weird. Like, you don't really have any knowledge of that being an issue until it becomes an issue.
Oh yeah, totally.
There's a lot of banks that are really pretty seamless, but like my particular credit union was like, nope, we don't cash out. You know, we don't accept money from cryptocurrency. It's like, well, fuck you.
Well, and they may be buying into they may be drinking the same Kool-Aid, or, you know, maybe they're pressured by the state, like, oh, you know, we don't want you to deal in this or something like that, because it is a threat.
Here's the thing.
It's competition.
If there's money coming out of your bank and going to something that you can link to, you know, Bitcoin or whatever, and then money coming to you from that same place, there's a paper trail. So what's the problem?
Well, especially in the US, you know, if you're dealing with like independent crypto, like there's a paper trail in the sense that transactions are known, but the identity of the wallet holder is not. But if you use like Coinbase, yeah, it's all known, and that's the thing that makes it so silly. Is like, okay, they're totally fine with shit like the like regular investment, right? The stock market. Oh, that's totally okay. You can do that all day long. But as soon as you go into crypto, which kind of functions the same way, well, now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I don't know about that.
I mean, you get taxed on both, but, you know,
yeah, it's capital gains. But yeah, there is definitely a campaign to make people skeptical, or not skeptical, but like scared of crypto.
Yeah.
Because it's competition for the US dollar.
It's round about that time of year that we should probably do a tax related episode, and we've never really done a whole episode on crypto before.
That would be a good one.
Yeah,
I've been putting a little bit into that through PayPal, and PayPal, by the way, has a crypto investment system. Only a couple, like 4 different things.
That might have been how I had to get my money, actually. I can't remember now. It's been years, but...
Well, you here's the thing. With crypto, you already had money. Just saying, if you had Ethereum, you already had money. I mean, it's just a different currency.
In select markets, maybe. Like, I never found a place where I could actually spend it. But
if you had Bitcoin, you probably could. But here's the thing: if you control your own wallet, you can just transfer that around. Like, it's really, or go to an exchange or something. That I think deserves its own episode.
It does. Yeah.
Man.
Huh. Well, we got pretty far off the original topic, I think, but
well, the ends justify the
such
means.
Is the way. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's exactly how things go. Man. Oh, but as usual, we had some pretty good future topic ideas come up, so that's good.
There were two other quotes that I wrote down. Might as well mention them.
Okay.
The end justifies the means only when the means used are such as actually bring about the desired and desirable end. John Dewey. Now, I think
and
that's
that kind of that kind of goes along with what I was saying about being omniscient, right? Like,
how do you know what's desirable to everyone, right?
That's true. Well, and you only know, like you had said, after the fact, if the ends did in fact occur.
Yeah. And then politics can be relatively fair in the breathing spaces of history. At its critical turning points, there is no other rule possible than the old one, that the end justify the means. Arthur Koestler. He was like a Hungarian author in the 30s, 40s, like communist Stalin days and stuff like that.
Back in the USSR,
Yeah. Back in the USSR. And that brings in the politics aspect, right? Like, politics is all about the ends, right? This is what we're gonna do. This is what we want to achieve.
You sound very high right now, by the way.
Why are you speaking so quickly, sir?
Why are you speaking so slowly? Yeah. Well, and that's interesting. You should bring that up because if there are archives of old political campaign videos through the ages, back 3 or 4 decades or something, and they're talking about the same shit. They're like, oh, hey, if you elect me, I'm going to fix this or I'm going to do that. And they've been saying the same thing for practically as long as I've been, actually before I've been alive. I think they go back to the 60s. So
here's the dumb thing about the way our government is set up. We've got, this figurehead president, right? And then a vice president who does jack shit, except wait for the president to die. And then, well, they're in charge of Congress or whatever. But that seldom does any good, right? Because you've got the House and then the Senate. The House passes stuff and gets people all jazzed up for what might be. And then the Senate goes and strikes it down because they're almost always at odds with one another. And right now we've got a 50-50 split in the Senate. So that right there tells you nothing will ever get done.
Well, and maybe that's a good idea. Just saying, but that's a good point. That here's
it's
the thing.
Stagnant though. Stagnant's almost never a good thing.
The thing is, why does it have to be a partisan thing? Why isn't it just like a scientific thing? Okay, or engineering, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, this thing isn't working. Let's find a solution to it. Doesn't matter whether what color shirt you're wearing or something like that. We know there's a problem. Let's find a way to solve it. and come to an agreement about how to solve it. That's what you do in every industry, everywhere. But apparently politics is exempt from that. Like, I don't get it. It just baffles me. And yet it's something that people get all googly eyed over. Like, oh, wow, it's such a big deal. It's like, well, they can't, like you said, they can't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
You know, like it's flaccid, like just limp dick.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there are people. Okay. So all the while Congress is flopping their balls and tits and whatever stuff around all this time, there's people building skyscrapers. We're building rockets going to Mars, like space programs and new computers and nanotechnology and quantum computers and all this stuff. And yet they can't decide on like how to manage a budget. And you know, the thing is, like, I can manage my own budget. It's pretty easy. I have a little notebook that I have up here. I could do that. So why are these people like seen as gods? I guess. I don't know.
Well, the difference is you're probably not looking a year ahead and allotting a certain amount of money that you're going to spend on something, and then deciding, oh no, it's almost the end of the year, I have to spend that money now, or I'm just going to, you know, like, what the hell? Why can't
that drives me up the wall. Oh my god.
You just move the money where you need it, or save it, or you know,
yeah. Oh, you have to spend it. You know. Oh shit. Wait, how much do I have in my wallet? Like, maybe I've got
businesses do this too.
Oh wait, I've got $14 in my wallet. I have to spend it tonight.
Oh jeez.
Otherwise,
before April, you gotta spend it before April, or it's gone.
So stupid.
You just gotta set it on fire at that point.
Well, maybe I will actually.
Yeah, like it's and businesses do this too, and it baffles me. Like when we ran a business, everyone was like, "You need to create a budget." I'm like, "Why?" Like, I will spend money on what I need to spend money on, and you know, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
you just roll with it. You know, it's an ever evolving thing, because the thing is, all of these budgets and stuff are annually based, like the fiscal year and stuff, as if everything is the same in the entire universe.
Right.
And that time when you started the business, whatever, or started a country, all of a sudden everything resets. Well, that's bullshit.
I'll backtrack a little bit. A budget makes sense in like short bursts, right? Like Tacoma utilities bills, like standard billing is like every other month, right? Most people get paid twice a month or every other week, right? So you set aside a little from each check for 2 months. That's a reasonable budget.
Sure.
You know, if you have a recurring charge that comes out once a year and it's, you know, like not a huge amount, you could just set a little reminder that says, hey, this month, maybe try to find an extra $60 or whatever, you know. But if it's like $6,000 or something, you know, like property tax or something, like twice a year, you'll set aside a little bit here and there. But like to take everything and lump it into a 1 year bucket is dumb.
That's exactly. Oh, and
totally stupid.
That's how like, all the politicians operate. And
to be like, oh, we need more money for the plumbing budget, but you know, like, we've got too much money in the electricity budget. Well, shit out of luck. Why can't you move that money? Why?
Yeah, just it's only a number in a virtual account. Like it's not like you have to have a wheelbarrow and a person to push the wheelbarrow to bring it from one office to another. You just like click a few buttons and you're done.
Yeah. There's no money god saying this is plumbing money, that is electricity money.
Yeah.
You cannot betwixt the two.
Oh man. Oh God. Jesus.
Well, we've gotten pretty far off topic. So
Well, I think that to an extent, like this is actually relevant, but maybe this conversation, this portion of the conversation should actually also be its own episode. I mean, if you, the viewers, agree, put your comments down there in the comment section and tell us to talk about federal budgeting and things like that. Because
if you know why budgets are necessary, please enlighten us.
Well, budgets are, but that whole like rollover thing, like you have to spend it or lose it, like that's bullshit. That's just made up mumbo jumbo. Like some stupid accountant decided that like 200 years ago, and now they're like, "Oh, this is just the way it's done."
That's like, their attempt. That's their attempt at omniscience, right? They're trying to predict the future, and they're trying to say like, well, based on last year, this is what we need to spend, right? So like, I almost guarantee you, in 2019, FEMA's budget probably couldn't possibly have handled COVID-19 come 2020 based on their previous budget, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if you based everything year to year on, you know, the past years and stuff, hey, how's that COVID stuff working out for you? You didn't see that coming, did you, bro?
Yeah. So they've got something built in to handle that, right? Like print more money. Money machine go.
Yeah, and then everybody has to deal with the repercussions of that in the form of inflation, which we'll have to talk about another time too. Tax on the poor.
Fuck money. Yeah.
Well, it's fine. It just matters who controls it, and that's the thing that scares the states so much, is that cryptocurrency doesn't have a centralized control system. It's distributed. Like it's decentralized.
Bitcoin's like yen, though, isn't it? I mean, like 0.000001 Bitcoin costs you like $100 or something. Yeah, it's ridiculously.
It doesn't matter like the where the decimal place is and the dollar exchange rate amount. Like none of that matters. Because the same thing happens with the dollar. Like nobody talks about like purchasing power of the dollar from the 60s to now, and all the changes, because there are changes, very different. It's a tool. That's all money is. It's just a tool to conduct trade, to store your work in something other than like fish and corn that nobody wants to buy. That's all it is. Like. And crypto is actually a good evolution of that. Like it's kind of the frontier of money. And I think it's a good thing. And people who think that, or trying to sell you on the idea that it's a scary, it's like, oh, it's unstable and inefficient. Like, okay, yeah, they just want to control you.
What if we just abandoned money and just did the role-playing game thing and everybody had experience points,
like, or credits or something, but it still becomes money. It's a medium of exchange, whether it be experience points or credits or whatever.
That doesn't really fluctuate though, right? Like you can't create more of it.
And the finite nature of a thing is what makes money valuable. And that's why fiat currency is such a problem. Like the US dollar, Fed coin, as I call it, it's fake. Like it has no tangible substance.
What do other countries do?
They peg their currency to the US dollar.
Well, that's awesome.
For the most part. And if they don't, we go to war with them. Look up Libya, and
nobody is linked to any kind of precious metal or anything anymore.
They used to be, maybe some still are, but in general it's all fiat, and that's a big problem. Burn
it all down. It's done.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, I agree. Let's go back to something, even if it's fucking shells or something, like we need something tangible, a thing that's finite, a thing that can't be created again and again and again. You just move a decimal place and all of a sudden, you got more money. That's a huge problem. And inflation happens because, well, supply and demand. But we're going like way far into the weeds at this point. But I totally agree that the problem with a dollar is that it's fake, just completely fake. It's made up. And to suggest that cryptocurrency is anything less, or that crypto is like somehow more risky than Fed coin, like, nah, it's the same stuff, just numbers in a database somewhere. Like, it's all made up. It doesn't mean anything. So yeah, don't put your faith in money, I guess. Use money. There's nothing wrong with using it, because it should be something you use to exchange things. But the problem is, like, nobody saves anything anymore, and that is a huge problem, actually.
It's not that nobody wants to save anything. It's just that you can't.
Well, you can, but why would you? Because the thing is, you save money, and all the while you're losing purchasing power because of inflation. That dollar that you saved 10 years ago is worth 50 cents now in terms of actual purchasing power. So why would you save it?
Well, that's not the fault of the average Joe, though.
No. It's the fault of the system itself. The fact that it's a fiat currency and it is not finite. It is infinite. It
needs to be zero sum. Like, it needs to be linked to something. Like, it's completely ridiculous that, when we just need more money, we just print more, and then all of a sudden you have less value in each individual dollar. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Seems illogical to me.
It's a tax on the poor, and well, it's a tax on everybody, but particularly it hits hard to people that don't have a lot of money.
Everything is a tax on the poor. Overdraft fees, and like all this stuff. Like, it's like, oh, you don't have enough money? That'll cost you.
Oh man. Yeah, totally. Well, and the thing about
sense.
Like things like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin actually was built around the idea of there being kind of like a finite number of units, based on the algorithm and prime numbers and all this stuff. So
there's all this Bitcoin mining and stuff. I don't really understand.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's a point of diminishing returns at this point. Like, you could mine Bitcoin. Back in the day, you used to be able to do it with an average computer. Now you need like a server farm, and it's really not worth it. So spending like millions of dollars to mine like 2 Bitcoin, it's just not worth it. So it's a built-in set number of units, and that's exactly why the exchange rate has gone way up. Like, the price is through the roof now. I mean, if there are people, wasn't there a guy that like bought a pizza with like 200 Bitcoin or something like that back in the day? Like 200 Bitcoin, isn't it like $58,000 per Bitcoin now? Oh my God, that's an expensive pizza. And that's good, because it restrains the inflation. So, you hit this kind of threshold, and all of a sudden now you only have so many units to exchange. Like,
so if everyone all of a sudden obtained some Bitcoin, it would go from 0.00000 all the way up to like a normal digit, right? Like, because there's only so much.
Well, it depends on
its buying power would increase if more people had.
Are you talking Bitcoin or Fed coin?
Bitcoin.
Because you purchase a set quantity, a fractional amount of Bitcoin at whatever the exchange rate is for whatever you're exchanging, be it dollars or, I don't know, dinars or whatever. The quantity you purchase doesn't change. it is just whatever people are.
No, I'm talking about its value, like its buying power.
Well, and that will only increase as more people want it, as it has actually. I mean, Ethereum is another one. I mean, that started off. I mean, we were talking about getting into that when it was like $1 per unit, and now it's like, what is it, $1,700 or $1,800 or something like that per unit?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Ethereum's gone crazy.
Wow.
But it took a few years. It trailed behind Bitcoin quite a bit.
Wow, I wish I still had some. Jeez.
Yeah, well, I bet that pizza guy does too. He wish he has Bitcoin.
It looked like Ethereum was going nowhere.
It wasn't for a while, but that's the whole thing. Like, you can't predict the future.
Yeah.
Like, but these things are just simply tools that you use to exchange. It's like a wooden nickel, right? Like, the wood doesn't mean anything. Well, even money. $100 bill is the same piece of paper as a $1 bill. Like, it's just the numbers printed on it that make it more valuable. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just what you want. So the whole point of currency, money and stuff, is essentially to be able to store the work that you did for future purchases. And that's it.
Like, so why is silver crap? Like it's almost universally seen as like a bad investment. It's hardly moved like whatsoever. Like, gold has gone like this and silver has gone like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's basically never been worth anything more than it has been, plus or minus like $40.
Well,
you know,
the $40 is a big deal. So it's a proportional thing, right? It doesn't matter the
gold,
dollar
like
amount.
$1,400 versus, you know,
well,
like.
But the thing is, gold, like, the proportions were the same. So it doesn't matter how many dollars you put in. If you bought gold at $300 and sold it at $600, or bought silver at $4 an ounce and sold it at $50. Well, actually, when silver was, but anyway, the point is, it's proportional. And that was a really weird situation that was based on a really crazy demand, based on the housing boom crash circumstance. Silver, though, might actually be a good idea, because silver's consumed in industry a lot more than gold, and it's really not more rare than gold. So at some point, when the market realizes that silver is actually pretty scarce, silver could like flip with gold. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's a matter of like how much you buy it for versus how much you sell it for, not whatever the dollar amount is. It's all about proportions, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to get into like a whole like investment and economics tutorial here, but I mean, I think it's all kind of interconnected. Yeah.
This is probably one of the craziest tangents we've ever gone.
I think so. That's a really good topic idea, actually.
Yeah.
This is good. Do the ends justify the means? And in the end, we're talking about gold and silver and cryptocurrency and the Fed and, man, taxes and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be gold. Look,
F and taxes. That's the end of everything that means justify.
Yeah, look forward to another tax episode coming up soon. I think the first one was the FairTax.
FairTax, yeah. That would be interesting to go into deeper.
Yeah.
It would be great to get like a guest on that knows more about it, but
yeah, like a FairTax advocate or something like that. Somebody that like has studied it and the concepts. I mean, I have.
I'm still really on the fence about it. Like, this year's income tax is befuddling. Like it was ridiculously complicated. Oh, if you've done this, you need a schedule 1A. If you've done this, you need a schedule 3B. Like what is this? What?
Why can't it be simple?
Not like
and it's not that it's complex. It's like if you make a mistake, you go to jail.
Oh yeah, well,
there's no excuse. Like,
I tried to do my own taxes like 3 times, got a different number each time.
Oh geez.
Went to H&R Block and they were like, you owe like $1,000 or something, and that'll be $300, please. I'm like, no, screw you. and then I went home and I did
swivel on it, punk.
Yeah. And I like hunkered down and I did it myself, and I got like $500 back or something. And I was like, what are we even doing here?
yeah, exactly. It's a mess. The whole entire thing is a train wreck. And yet people act like it's like, well, it's a whole like religious thing. Like, oh, it's some kind of like, it's God, right?
I guarantee you audits are random. Like they aren't looking at everybody's taxes.
No, they're not.
It's a shit show. Like,
well, and here's the thing that's like so stupid about all of this is the IRS knows exactly how much you owe, but they want you to fill out the paperwork. Yes.
I bet if 3 different people audited you from the IRS, you'd get 3 different numbers.
It all okay. So it does depend on what you voluntarily declare, but from the stuff that is not voluntary, they know everything, but they want you to jump through those hoops and fill out the paperwork and sweat and like, scratch your head and like, what the hell's going on?
I wish we could crowdsource a movement where everybody files their taxes but doesn't pay a damn thing.
Oh hell yeah, I'm totally on board with that.
And they file so they'll get refunds.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody pays a cent, a bloody cent, ever. And you come after us, motherfucker.
Yeah,
like whatever. Yeah,
because
they'll
here's
garnish
the thing.
They'll garnish your check, sure, but like you keep doing that year after year.
There's nothing. Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Because coming after you costs money too.
Oh, yeah. And coming after like hundreds of millions of people would break the bank, I guess, at that point. Yep. Because the thing is, like, by law, it's against the law to not file unless you're below a certain threshold. But not paying, there's nothing. Yeah. They can do some stuff because they've got their fingers in the banks like little spiders.
They'll get their money one way or the other, but
not if it's in crypto. They won't.
If you make them work for it,
and they have
diminishing returns, right?
Hundreds of millions of times over. Yeah, that's a good point. I could get behind that.
We could break the system.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody make this go viral.
Oh, totally.
Make it go viral. Say timestamp whatever, an hour and 10 minutes in or whatever we are now. Like if nobody else watches any of this, watch this bit. Next year, file your taxes, don't pay a dime.
Yeah.
And nobody pay anything.
And if you get anything back,
gets cut off.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you get anything back, take it. Take everything you can, contribute nothing,
and save it all.
Put
it back in the economy.
Don't spend a thing. Oh man, or put it into crypto or gold or silver or something that no one can put their mitts on.
We need to break the system because it's not going to burn itself down.
No, oh man, that. Democratic socialist and an anarchist agree on monetary policy.
There are some things that are a universal truth.
Absolutely. Oh man. Wow, I feel like we could keep going for a very long time on this. We probably need more beer. But I think we've hit on all the important things. Man, wow, this is good.
Yeah, I've added enough cholesterol for this week.
Oh, and here's the thing: to ask yourself, if you're not in one of our camps, like, do the ends justify the means? Yet again, to kind of bring it back to the beginning again. Yeah. Oh,
fuck
man.
the IRS.
Yeah, I totally agree. Bunch of assholes. Oh man. Well, and I was hearing today on the way home, they were talking on the news about how there were a bunch of people who got unemployment and across the country due to the shutdown, and now it's tax time, so they're having this goes back to taxes, so they're having to pay taxes, and you have to pay tax. Okay, so you pay tax into the system of like the unemployment system, and then when you draw from it, it's considered income, and therefore it's taxable. So the government gives you money, but then expects you to pay money in the form of taxes on the money the government gave you. Like, how terrible is that?
Same with Social Security, and they justify it as saying, well, you're paying into the future Social Security. Other people have paid into your Social Security. It's like, well, I'm still paying something. Yeah. So,
but wait, isn't that exactly how it came into being? Like, why do you have to still pay taxes on that? Shouldn't that be exempt?
And with unemployment, you can say, oh, please set aside money for tax. And it's like, oh, we'll set aside 10%. Whose fucking tax bracket is 10%? It's never less than 20.
Well, yeah, it's not like a singular number, like, oh, that's exactly what they charge you. It's not like fucking sales tax. If it worked that way, it would be really easy. God. Oh man. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're like a little over an hour in. I think that's probably long enough. We've diverged many times as usual, but as usual, it's I would say a pretty good conversation.
Yeah,
very, very compelling, like probably more than most YouTube channels. Subscribe, by the way, if you like us.
Yes. Good. Good.
Oh man. Yeah, and if you like what we have to talk about, keep the conversation going down in the comment section below. We appreciate that, and we'll try to respond to as many comments as we can, such as they are. Yeah.
And stick around for the song at the end, because it's going to be awesome. Because all our songs are awesome. We don't write any fuddy-duddy shit. Well, maybe we do, but
every once in a while.
That'll come in like season 4,
I mean, with like thousands of songs, you can't expect everything to be a like top 10 #1 hit.
If you give them enough listens, they're all really pretty good. They'll grow.
Oh yeah. Even the old stuff. Packing it in and man, that old stuff. Oh man.
Miss Pac-Man sound effects.
Oh
shit.
Oh right. Wow.
Well, thanks for deep sink diving with us into the justification of the ends by way of the means.
Yeah. Oh,
and vice versa.
Man, that was a epic conversation. And if you feel the same way, again, comment down below. And yeah, have a good night, everybody.